was in my mid-20s, I started having experiences which caused me to realize there were other forms of energies and intelligences that are not just what we observe as like humans or animals or reptiles or things like that, that they're actually ethereal beings that exist that occasionally grace us with their presence, and these beings are angels. Like I said, being an atheist, I was certainly not looking for angels or believing in them. But one day I was with a friend, and he felt that I had a lot of insight about some of his issues, so we were talking, and I was trying to really tune into what was going on with him, and he said, "Oh, I feel so alone." And then behind him, I suddenly saw a golden light beam standing right behind him. And this is my first encounter with an angel. And I said, "Well, you're not alone." And then all evening, this golden light beam was just like flashing around the room, and it was very magical. And I went to an art store, I bought some gold leaf, and did my first angel painting. And what really amazed me when I did it, I remember I had this horrible, horrible pain in my spine, and I had the worst headache I ever had in my life when I did the painting. I did it all in one day. It was like something that had been trapped and closed up in me was just like being like opened up, to pull through the energy of this painting. And there was on this canvas this gold leaf shiny angel, and I thought, wow, it really captured the energy of what I had seen standing behind my friend. And that's what got me going from New York realist to angel painter and beyond. I've done also a lot of research in the area of, psychic research, because I also write, and I used to be able to see movies in my head. And I didn't have to try to think up a story. I could just see as if there was a movie playing in my head. And one day I was having breakfast with a friend of mine, and she said, that could mean you're kind of clairvoyant if you have those kinds of easy visions. So she said, let me give you a test. I'm writing a song, and I want to know what influence I should use. What do you think I should use? And I closed my eyes to see a picture like I normally would see when I'm writing. And I saw a piece of sheet music, and it said Jimmy Buffett on it. So I said, you should use Jimmy Buffett's influence. And she went, oh my God, I was trying to decide between Jimmy Buffett and James Taylor. So that's when I also realized that my inner visions, which I thought were just sort of imagination or the play of, any creative person has visions. Everybody dreams, daydreams. We all have inner movies in our heads. But I had always just considered that purely, what's the right word? Just pure imagination with no connection with anything else in reality. When I had this experiment with my friend and the sheet music, I realized that some of the pictures that I was seeing in my head might actually be corresponding to a reality that exists somewhere. So I not only started doing paintings of angels, but I also started experimenting, doing psychic experiments with myself to develop an intuition and to see where those inner visions led. Are they pure fantasy? Are they connected to a reality, another reality? And so this painting, for example, is based on what I saw in the inner worlds. It's like, this is the golden light. It's almost like the beings are watching over us down there somewhere. You have a television set with what now? There's probably hundreds of shows, and there's a transmitter somewhere beaming out those shows. And if you tune your television to the right number, you get the show you want. And where is that show in between where it's being transmitted from a station to where it enters your TV set? It's I know nothing about physics, but it's somewhere in the waves, and the waves hit your TV set, and then you see the picture. And it's very much, that's the way it is with angels. They are there in a kind of information form or a wave form, and if you tune and open up your channels in just the right way or call on a certain angel, they will appear on your screen, or they'll appear in your reality, just like a television program appears on your TV. That's kind of magic too. So angels are, and these kind of visionary pictures are examples of how when you tune your mind to a certain frequency, to a certain channel, then non-material information comes to you and then appears as real. Just like the television show appears as real, it's not. These guys appear as real. They're not, but they are. It's information for us. It's energy, and this is meant to be healing, inspiring energy. I feel very much that, I have my own ups and downs in life, and I've certainly been trained, to live in a fear-based mentality because our world is very fear-based. But I really strive to switch over from that fear-based mentality to a love-based mentality or a joy-based mentality. I remember going to a show in a gallery of, I forget who the artist was, but absolutely brilliant artist. But he channeled the dark side so well, it scared the heck out of me in there because there was so much, negative power. And I thought, well, he's very gifted, but I would prefer to bring through as much positive energy as possible because we certainly need it. This painting, for example, is a little bit different. This is about somebody who's leaving the earth. And this is me, and this is a beloved person to me. And because I'm still going to be here in body, and she's not, I'm taking her as far as I can go up to to the light here, and then eventually I'm going to have to let her go, and she's going to have to walk through that doorway herself into the next dimension, the non-physical dimension. I was with her up until the point of her departure, and basically, when somebody leaves their body and goes to the non-physical, there's that moment when the spirit is still in the body, and you're together, and the spirit is speaking through that person's mouth and lips, and then suddenly that person is no longer there. And in order to communicate with that person, you have to communicate through the mind and the heart. And so when that person left their body, in the way the picture symbolizes, this is me taking the person as far as I could go with them when they were in their body. And then they're going to leave and go into the light and go into the non-physical. So what happened to me is I was with that person, and then as they transitioned into the non-physical, I had to transition to an inner vision where, just like when you have a dream, I saw this person in the dream, there's a silver cord that connects the spirit to the body, and I saw the person holding the cord in their hand, because the cord had been cut now because his spirit was no longer with the body. And he was almost like looking at the cord like, oh my God, I'm unplugged now from my body, and almost like trying to see. It's like if you cut a cord, it's like, well, it'll still work if I plug it in. He couldn't plug it in anymore. So, and that's where in my mind's eye I just said, it's okay, we love you, you're on to your next experience, your next part of your journey. And so this painting was about our last moments together before the takeoff into the non-material world. And I think that the very interesting part of it is that even though I saw the soul, I saw the cord cut, I saw its confusion, I saw it then realize he was not here anymore, and turn around and walk into the light where there were other beings waiting for him to kind of orient him to his new non-material body. Even though I knew that he was okay and he sent me a lot of joy and love and light, I was still very, very sad. And it's caused me to think quite a bit, why do we suffer so much when we lose someone we love? Even though, in my experience, I saw the process of them leaving their body, I saw them readjust, I saw them being taken by light beings. I knew that person, I got sick for 3 days after they left. And then the person came to me in the light, and he was shining and full of joy, and I knew he was okay, and I got well like that. It was like I had a terrible flu, and then I saw him in the light, and I was immediately better. So it's very interesting, like we live in this very dualistic world where as humans we grieve, we suffer, and yet there's so many other levels where we could connect to those we love or to those angelic, helpful presences we could be happy all the time. We could just be laughing with joy. They were silly creatures. We forget what's really there. And so I think my job in life is to try to remember and try to share it with other people. The one main way that I think I can impact my environment is, there's a couple of levels. One is by the energy or vibration that I am. In other words, just my sheer presence creates some reality. I mean, I'm a person with trillions of electromagnetic connections going through me on a physical level. So nothing else, I'm a bundle of electromagnetic energy. So what kind of bundle of electromagnetic energy am I? And I do feel that all of our thoughts have positive or negative or neutral or somewhere in between. So my whole deal in life is to try and vibrate my electromagnetic field at a level which sends out, pulses of light and good energy into an environment, so that wherever I go, somehow there's an energy of harmony or peace that's created, as opposed to discord or strife. Now, that doesn't mean that everywhere I go that happens, because I'm only on the path. I'm not kind of enlightened. So when I am fear-based or angry, I walk into a room and like one of my kids will go, "Mom, oh my God, what's with you?" Or "You're making me anxious." I'm anxious, I transmit anxiety. On the other hand, if I'm, my goal is not to make people anxious or angry, but to walk into a room or be, and just where my electromagnetic energy is of light, where people can say, "Oh, it feels so good to be with you," or, "I got so much clearer being around you." And so that's my goal. And depending on the challenges that are thrown my way, sometimes I actually can be helpful to people, and sometimes I'm not helpful to people. I don't care what you call it. You can call it the philosophy of dog doo-doo, but if it's compassion that you're emanating, then that's the most incredible positive impact you could have on an environment. Okay, not to say that this is anything great, but it is an attempt to put beauty and energy back into the world. So I also try to create, the main space or environment that I'm creating is just with my body. I know actors, for example, their body is their art, is their tool. I don't mean that in that sense, but my main environment is the body that I live in. And when I leave this earth, I'll discard it like a suit of old clothes and have some other kind of environment. But right now, I consider my own body as the environment I use to impact those around me. I do like to live in nice places, though. This feels good. Beauty, I think that's important. I think it's something that makes me very sad is that some of the most basic things that a human being needs in life, fresh air, fresh water, sky, earth, tranquility, the sounds of nature. Where we live in Southern California, you have to pay big bucks for that. And also to live in an environment where there's no war. Nobody's dropping bombs on me right now. I feel very, very fortunate. And so another aspect of it is, in terms of my creating my environment, is to try to generate as much gratitude as possible for whatever I have. In Southern California here, of course, we could be hit with a 9-point earthquake in 5 minutes and be in just as bad off shape as some war-torn countries are right now. But at the moment, everything's cool. I'm very allergic to poison oak, and I saw a spot appear on my leg. And normally, if I got one spot, it's like a brush fire through my whole body. And I started freaking out. And suddenly, a white light being appeared. It was kind of elliptical in shape, and had beautiful brown eyes in the white light. And it just looked at me and communicated telepathically and said, "Don't worry." And then it came and it blended into my body, and this coolness came over me, and it was a really hot summer day. This coolness came over me, and I just collapsed into this chair right next to me in complete bliss, and just stayed in that state for, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes. So that's one experience that is hard for an old atheist to explain away. And another experience I had, which is really mind-blowing, I was driving at night. This was about 25 years ago. I was driving at night and with another person in the car, in the front passenger seat. And we were going through an intersection. And this is us driving, and another car comes and runs the red light and is about to broadside us. And instead of hitting us, this just golden light flashed through the car, and then we saw the taillights of the car going the other way. In other words, it was as if the car dematerialized, passed through us as golden light, and rematerialized on the other side. Now, I saw it, and the person next to me saw it, and we both looked at each other and went, what was that? But we didn't know, so we just kept driving, and that was that. Well, I lost touch with this person 25 years later, somewhere between 20 and 30 years. I mean, a girlfriend of mine came over to visit me one day, and she said, I just saw so-and-so in Santa Monica. He's a chiropractor. And he told me the story about being with you in a car 20 years ago and how another car dematerialized and passed through your car and came out the other side. And I just thought, well, what do you know? You know, all these years later, that other person and I still have the same memory of it. So it just leads me to believe that anything is possible. You know, if you were meant to be alive and be here, and you're stupid enough to be about a bit to be creamed by another car, your angels, your guides, your God, whoever you want to call it, will arrange it so that you're okay. The first actual mystical experience I had was standing on the steps of a Mayan pyramid all by myself at noon, and I felt like somebody lifted off the top of my head, literally like my crown chakra, and opened up a hatch, and energy started pouring through, and I got completely high. And I had actually at that point never even taken any, smoked a joint or anything, or I probably drank some in high school, but I mean, I got high from some kind of energy that downloaded into my system. Completely unaware. I was just there, a college student, 19 years old, anthropologist, looking at the pyramid, and boom, had this initiation, I would say. I found out years later I was standing on the steps of what the Mayans consider to be their most sacred pyramid. Shortly after that, I was sleeping and in my house. I woke up in the middle of the night, and there was a face, just the face of an Indian man, glowing with white light all around it, and I felt this incredible joy inside of myself radiating out from inside of me. And normally, you know, you feel joy because something good happens to you. Oh, you meet someone you love, you make a good business deal, you go on a vacation, someone gives you a puppy. I mean, normally you expect to get joy from something happening to you that you like. But in this case, this man with the Indian face, white light glowing in the dark, I felt this joy just coming out of me for no reason, self-effulgent joy, just joy for the sake of joy. That was a huge awakening, because now I discovered that I could be alive and happy, not only when I was painting, but it was like I'm walking around in this little joy machine here. There's something amazing about it. It's not just a sad machine or a blah machine, or it's a joy machine too. And it was experiencing, it is a mystical experience. I mean, somebody's face showing up in a room full of white light, and suddenly you have this experience of self-effulgent joy. And 2 months later, my boyfriend came home with a leaflet and said that this particular spiritual person was coming to town to talk, and would I like to go see him? And guess what? That was the face of the person I'd seen in the light a few months before. And that's what started me on the spiritual path 33 years ago in a formal way. When lightning flashes in the dead of night, everything's illuminated for a minute, and then it gets dark again. So I'm in the dark a lot, but I do remember what I saw when everything was illuminated, and it keeps me going. And it's kind of what I try to express in my paintings too, is a kind of illumination, but also as a creative person, every moment's a new moment, and that's part of the adventure too, is not really having a plan or an expectation, but watching to see what shows up, what you magnetize towards yourself. And sometimes, depending on who you are, you magnetize what you are. So once it's a good way of watching what's showing up in your environment. Is a good way of telling you where you are too. Everything's a reflection of your own space. There's no us and them. It's just kind of one pulsating electromagnetic pool we're all swimming in. One of my Venice artist friends was talking to me, and I was telling her I was feeling a little stuck artistically, and she said, "Oh, there's this great psychic in Venice. You should go see her. She specializes in working with artists." So how terribly California are we? So I went to see this psychic who specializes in artists, and we talked and blah, 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 blah. The next day, I was waking up, and there's something called hypnagogic imagery, which is images that you see in between your dream state and your waking state. You're not dreaming, you're not awake, and they come up. And that's how actually most of my subjects come from my paintings, through hypnagogic imagery. So the morning after I saw the psychic, sure enough, who pops up in my in-between dreaming and waking state but a Statue of Liberty with angel wings. And I thought, this is very funny. I've always been, a little bit irreverent about things like Statue of Liberty and, overt national symbols. But I thought I can't not paint a Statue of Liberty with angel wings if I saw it like that. So, hence Goddess Liberty. Years later, I was having an art exhibit, and this painting was in the exhibit, and lo and behold, the psychic who counsels artists walked into that exhibit and saw this painting and started to cry profusely. And I said, "Whoa, why? What's that about?" And she said, now remember, this is the image I saw the morning after she consulted with me. She was British, and she said that from the time she was a little girl, she grew up in the bombing raids of London in World War II, and her desire was always to come to America to get away from the hell of World War II in England, and that she always used to dream of a Statue of Liberty with angel wings her whole life. And that was what beckoned her and kept telling her, "Come to America, come to America." And this was what I had painted was her vision. So I just think it's an incredible example of how, I went to see her. I thought it was my vision that I had the next day. It turned out I was picking up on a vision that she had, that God knows how many other people have had coming to America. And so it reminds me again that we're all connected in this very intricate pattern. We don't always see the pattern in the tapestry. It's like the story of 5 blind men describing an elephant. One person feels a tail and says the elephant is long and skinny. And one person, blind man, feels the leg and says, no, it's thick, it's like a tree trunk. And another one feels, the body and says, no, it's like a huge house. Depending on what little piece of reality we're touching on, we tend to think that's what it is. But in fact, it's this huge, grand design, and we're just parts of the players of it. And so this painting reminds me of that. But I also would like to say that, some of the energy of our founding fathers was pretty amazing energy, pretty lofty visions of humanity and what was possible for this country. And I feel that we are in grave danger of having eroded that. So I particularly like this painting as a reminder that, liberty, freedom, happiness is a gift. It's a gift from the angels, it's a gift from God, it's a gift from one human to another, however you like to cognize where, goodness comes from, where love comes from. But that this painting to me is a very political painting. And it's political, and it's saying, let us go back to the vision that we came here for. Let us stop destroying and let us start creating. Thank you, Goddess Liberty.